And welcome to the April 24th regular council meeting. We'd like to welcome Sama this evening. We've got Dr. Syed Rizvi and Graham Stearns and a couple of good ladies that you've brought along. Would you like to introduce, and then we'll go ahead with your presentation, please.
Sure. With us we have Carrie Lalonde. Carrie looks after a lot of the commercial high-value assessments within the city. And we have Joanne Fraser. And Joanne is where the rubber hits the road as far as assessment goes. She's here from our Weyburn office, and Joanne is working with Trina. Joanne's our primary person right now for the city of Estevan, so she's here quite often.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, Graham. And thank you, Joanne, for all of your help that I know you and Trina work very closely together. Much appreciated. So, yeah. Graham, I guess if you would like, you can go ahead, please.
Sure. So what we're here today for is, as you all know, this is the year, once in every 4 years of our assessment cycle, where we've updated our provincial values. And we are in the process across the province of rolling those values out. The meetings like this, I've been going to quite a few of them. Sam has been attending lots of meetings across the province. It's an integral part of the rollout of the new assessed values. So what we have today with Dr. Syed Rizvi and Carrie, we have some people who are technical specialists and who worked on models that we use to help value the large majority of properties within the city. So what Dr. Rizvi is going to talk to you about is the approach we use to, and the model we use to value the residential properties within the city of Estevan. We're very lucky to have Dr. Rizvi work for us. He's a very highly qualified individual, and I think he'll as a lot of very smart people do, what I think one of Syed's gifts is delivering technical information in a way that even I can understand it. So if he can do that, I'm sure you will understand it as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Rizvi.
Okay, thanks a lot, and I will walk you through the process. At the same time, I would like to keep it very simple, but will explain you some terms in very simple words. It's a complicated process, but I will give you all the details, and I hope you will understand. But feel free to ask me any question anytime, so you can stop me in the middle of my presentation. So there should not be any issue at all.
Okay, thank you for that, Doctor. Now,
first of all, I'll give you an overview. The overview is we'll be using the term MRA, which you will hear many times. And this is a multiple regression analysis. This is a standard technique developed in statistics and is used all around the world. This is actually a mass appraisal approach. That means if you got quite a few sales and you'd like to do the assessment, but you don't have many sales, or if you could have many sales, but if you have a very few sales, then what you do? So here what we are trying to do is to use this MRA technique, which is well established, and this is best used for single family residence and is used by comparing the sale values of different properties. So it's actually a process which is more objective, less subjective, and requires less property characteristics. So it saves us cost and money, and it can be calibrated very quickly. And I'll be talking about the calibration as well in a little while. The model we use within the MRA, there are three different types of models which are used: additive model, multiplicative model, and the hybrid model. Additive model, in which you simply add or subtract the values on a linear scale. It has certain advantages, but the disadvantage is if there is a age depreciation which is not going down linearly, rather it is slowing down, then you cannot control it. Then there is a multiplicative model where you can do a percentage adjustment. But again, the best model is a combination of both, additive model and the multiplicative model. And the model we are using is called the hybrid model. Here, what we do is in this hybrid model, we got two parts. One is part we use to determine the land value, and another part we use to determine the improvement value, and the total building value is the addition of simply of these two land and improvement values. Now, for the land value, we consider the lot size, and then we adjust the land value for the neighborhood, in which neighborhood the land is, the land servicing adjustments we make, and the location factors. The location factors, like if there is a highway traffic, there is a green space, and so on. Now, for the improvement value, we use the living area. Living area is the major component where we determine the main living area, the basement area, and how much portion of the basement area is finished. And we also consider various interior features, just like if there are any fireplaces, air conditioning, and some other features like garage, deck, porch, and so on. We also take into account the construction style, the construction type, quality, condition, and again the neighborhood as we do it for the land, and the location. Now, let me talk about, before I start talking about more, the model performance, the model we developed. The number of sales we have taken into account for Estevan is about total 675. Out of those, 73 were vacant land sales, and the rest were improved sales. The median ASR is our ultimate criteria, which is the ratio between the assessment value and the sale value. It must be close to 1. And for Estevan modeling, we got it as 0.997. Next parameter, which is very important for the model performance, is the R-square value. It shows how good the model is. And in our case, it was about 87%, which is in statistical terms is considered to be very good. Anything better than 70% is considered to be very good. But remember, if it is close to 100%, it is not considered good. The reason, there are other factors and other issues in your modeling. So what we are rating close to 90% or 87% is very good. And the next thing is the coefficient of dispersion. How much is the variation in our model values compared with the assessment values? According to IAAO standard, it can go up to 25%, and we try to keep it minimum. And for Estevan, so COD overall was only 10.7% and 10.3% for the vacant land, and I think 10.7% on the improved buildings. Now, the Estevan model, the variables we used are, first of all, is the location variables we were talking about. The location variables we take into account abutting apartment, green space, highway, commercial, railway, and main traffic. These are the factors we take into account. Here is a neighborhood, Estevan neighborhood, and you can see the factors we developed using the model for the land and for the improvement or for the buildings. So we put different neighborhoods together based on our statistical analysis. For example, neighborhood 110, 140, 150, 180, and 190 for the building have a factor of only 1.053. That means the assessment value will go up by 5.3%. And some are just as 1, so we take them as a reference. The location adjustments, we have the location adjustment applied on the land. So we take into account, say if it is abutting apartment and commercial buildings, then in that case, the factor is 0.95, 5% less. If it is abutting green space, then it's just 1. So it's not going down. But if it is in proximity with highway and main traffic, then it will be reduced by 14%, and the railway by about 25%. Now, the same location adjustment factors, when applied to the building, have slightly different factors. And for the commercial and apartment buildings are 0.988. Again, green space remains as 1, and the highway and traffic is 0.965, and the railway is 0.938. Another important adjustment we do for the land is what are the services available. If there is no service, then we have a land rate, which is the base land rate of $16 per square foot, and then we will take off $1.33 per square foot. And for the gravel street is 1.1, for the no sewer 0.7, no water 0.95, no sidewalks 0.44, no curbs 0.32. So these will be taken off from $16 and the land assessment value will go down. The land components we use, as I was telling you, the land value will be determined by land rate minus the land service adjustment times the standard land size. We determine that the standard land size, which we call in statistics as the median, is about 6,200 square feet. So we adjust the land rate based on 6,200 square feet times or the exponent to the land size, and the land rate is 16 here, and the land size exponent is 0.338. The reason we are using here as this exponent is that the values goes up and down, not very fast or not very rapidly, just to control the land values. The land size cap for this model is about 3 acres. So we apply this model up to 3 acres. So I got an example here. If there is a full service subject lot size of 6,000 square feet, then the land value is the land rate, which is 16. There is no land service adjustment because it is a full service land. So it will be 0, 16 minus 0, times the median land size or the subject land size, which is 6,200, times the 6,000 is the median land size over 6,200, raise the power, the exponent factor. So this full service lot of 6,000 square feet will give you an estimated assessment value of $98,107.64. Now keep in mind that this value is subject to neighborhood and location adjustment. Now for the building component, the main building component has a main living area, basement area, and basement finish area. Main living area value is the multiple of main living area times main living area rate times the main living area. And I will explain it to you with an example times the main living area. And again, we normalize it with the standard living area. The standard living area is about 1,150 square feet. And the main living area is 129.047 per square feet. And the living exponent is 0.34. So if you got a main living area of 1,500 square feet, and if you look at the last line here, the main living area value will be the main living area rate, which is 129.047, times the main living area, which is 1,500 square feet, and then times we normalize it with the median or standard living area, which is 1,500 over 1,150 raised the power minus 0.354. And so we have a value of 1,500 we have a value of about $176,193 for a 1,500 square foot. Again, there will be surface adjustment, there will be neighborhood adjustments and location adjustments, quality adjustment, condition adjustments. Now, regarding the basement area, as I told you, the building has the main living area value and the basement area. So the basement value will be a simple combination of basement rate times the basement area. The basement rate is only $46.129 per square foot. If the basement area is almost the same as the main living area, which is 1,500 square feet, then the basement area value will be the multiple of these two, which will be about $69,194. The basement finish area is the combination of basement finish rate times the basement finish area. And the basement finish rate is only $23.06.5. So if we have a basement room area of 1,000 square feet, then the basement room area value will be 23.065 times 1,000 will be simply $23,065. Other buildings we also take into account. Those are garage, deck, carport, porch, patio, and shed. For a linearized garage area, if it is greater than 484 square feet, then the garage rate is 40.746. And so the value of the garage will be depending upon the linearized garage area. If it is less than 484 square foot, then it will not be reduced by, or there will not be any complicated formula using exponent. Rather, it will be a simple multiple of 40.746 times whatever the area is. Now, what you have to be careful is when we calculate the linearized garage area is the attached built-in garage area plus 0.9 detached garage area plus 0.9 or the 90% of the detached garage quality choice area. Mean if there is a second detached garage or whatever it is, we take the 90% of that, or any pool enclosure area. Now I will explain to you with the help of an example. If suppose the garage area is 484 square feet and the detached garage area is 280 square feet, so the linearized garage area will be 484 plus the 90% of the 280 square feet of the detached garage area and 240 square feet of the detached garage area. So it will be a total of about 952 square feet, which will be multiplied with the garage rate and then will be raised to an exponent of minus 0.18, will give me a value of $34,343. Now we also take into account the deck area. Suppose if it is 300 square feet, patio, shed, and carport area, just say 0. And if we got the deck, porch, solarium, loft, everything, the rate is 15.486. And so what we do is that we multiply this rate with the deck area plus the porch area. All these areas, we simply add them. And suppose if the total area is only 300 square foot times 15.486, so it will be about 4,645. The patio, shed, and carport rate is only 6.452. Again, adding all those areas and multiply with the rate of 6.452, which is in this case is 0, so it will make this value as 0. Now, beside these exterior buildings, we also do some adjustments. And these adjustments are based on the quality and class, which we call the condition adjustments. We have now a simple model in which we have only 7 classes. So class 1, you can call it very poor, and class 7 as the best or excellent, whatever. Very good conditions, I should call, because otherwise you will get confused with the other one. So the very low class will have and will be multiplied by 0.6, and the highest class will be multiplied by 1.3. On the other hand, the conditions of the main building, if it is excellent condition, then we'll multiply with 1.562, and if it is very poor condition, then it will be 0.435.
I'm sorry, sir, I don't mean, class 1 to 7 is in order, class 1 is the poorest quality and 7 is the highest, and then the
Correct.
next
Yeah.
column is back, okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're right, it
The
should be,
second column could be flipped around
yeah, it should be other way
for
around.
ease of looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the fireplace, we determine the fireplace rate is simply 5,000, and it depends how many fireplaces we have in a building. So it's a simple multiple of $5,000. The swimming pool has no value. The plumbing, again, it depends how many number of plumbings we have in the building, multiplied by the $440 of the plumbing rate. Air conditioning is $4,000, and for heating, if there is no heating, we simply take off $20,000.
Pretty tough to have no heating in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, there's a big surprise if there is no heating.
Yeah.
Age adjustment. depreciation. This is a very crucial factor. And we apply the depreciation to all buildings. All building components, including the main building, other buildings, and any building features. Now, we got two different formulas to apply the depreciation. If we have a residential building, but it's not a mobile home, then it is 1 minus, our reference is 2014, minus the effective year build divided by 200 times the raise the power age exponent. If we have a mobile home, so instead of dividing it by 200, the depreciation will be very fast. So it will be divided by 80, and the age exponent, if you compare for both, for all other buildings other than mobile homes, is 0.89. For the mobile home is very fast, which is 1.442. I give you an example here, an OFD with the effective year build of 1990. If it is built in 1990, so we will subtract from 2014, divide by 200, raise the power 0.890. So it will give me a depreciation factor of 0.892. So this will be the age adjustment for the building, for all the components of the building. So if you'd like to have some additional resources, we got it on the SAMA website in more details. And then there is a FAQ as well. And if you'd like to have any follow-up, we are available to explain new assessments to ratepayers and provide ongoing phone support. And we have regional 1-800 numbers. And we are here to, if you have any questions, to explain it to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Syed. Very well done.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Hopper.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks for that. I'm not 100% sure what my question is. My trouble is, trying to explain this to our ratepayers, or other than just say, here's Sam's number, give them a call. But, and you've done a good job explaining how the assessment was arrived at this year. What we're noticing is we have such a wide range of implications and across the city. So for example, when we look at this to try and get a cross-section of the city, we take a look at all the councillors and some administrators' houses, because we all live in different areas of the city in different class. Some of us live in modest houses, other more wealthy, like the mayor, live in an upscale house. And anyway, we try and do it this way, and what we're finding is such a cross-section of some going up drastically, which of course drives the taxes up drastically, and some actually going down to the point where their tax bill on a year like this, where there's going to be a reasonably tax increase, actually potentially going down. And so the question from the ratepayer is, what changed from this assessment to last assessment? And you've talked a little bit about that, but the simple answer, is it that their property class changed, that their condition changed in comparison to the others? Or I guess what I'm struggling with is, how do you explain this to the average ratepayer? How such a huge fluctuation that we're seeing in this assessment, greater than past reassessments, I would say.
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Councillor Hoffert. As Syed did mention, one of the things we're doing right now is handling calls from residents of Estevan and any other municipality in the southeast with their roll open. What we generally do, and what helps us explain this method of assessment, the statistics kind of wash away a little bit, and we focus on explaining to people, go through all of the additives and the characteristics of their property to make sure that the information that we have that determines value is correct. And there is so many sales that sometimes if someone does come forward and their property just doesn't seem right, it's often because one of those things, there's some variation, there's some variance between what we've had on our assessment information and perhaps what they have. But even if everything is correct, they do understand that here are the things that add value. So we tend to stray away from the statistical end of it. No offense, Dr. Rizvi. I took statistics in university, and yeah, I stuck with me till the final was over, and I think I lost quite a bit of it after that. But what that has done is really created a model based on, you saw the large number of sales, that it's fairly accurate. It's very accurate, as Dr. Syed said. And that's why if something stands out as anomaly, we'd like to check that out. So the other aspect to that is a shift between revaluations between base dates. And there may be some situations where that has happened because we have changed the number of classifications. We've reduced the number of classifications we use for houses. Sometimes there's an anomaly where something maybe went down a class lower in our adjustments than it should have. But overall, I think we have fairly good luck at explaining the assessments, and with the difference one revaluation to the next, we really do just report that. Like sometimes variations are substantiated by large numbers of sales, and we don't go back and ask why so much. It's just the sales evidence indicates this. One other aspect I want to touch on in this portion of the council meeting goes hand in hand with this revaluation. It is to do a residential reinspection on, we're hoping to commence that later this spring, early summer. And what that does, it verifies some of those key factors that Dr. Rizvi mentioned. The classification, there may be the odd one that just isn't in the appropriate classification. And the condition, so just verifying condition on properties. And then some of those components, we don't have to measure swimming pools, they don't add value. But some of these other conditions like decks and outbuildings, in a large city, you'd be amazed at the things that are built without a permit or removed without a permit. So once we have all those things inspected, a few of those anomalies will disappear, and we will recalibrate the model again, and it will be even more accurate than it is now.
Okay, thank you for that, Graham. And yeah, you went from what, 36 guidelines to 7, something like that?
Yeah, we really reduced it
So I guess first
substantially.
blush, you'd wonder how the accuracy, how you could maintain that by doing that, but it would appear that you feel pretty comfortable that it's there.
Yeah. And we are doing a mass appraisal. I see the council reducing a lot the paper you use. I see that
Yes.
in lots of councils. And the one thing, we're going to more of a system of using handheld technology out in the field and using less paper. And you would be amazed at how much more efficient the programming is for 7 classifications than 30 some classifications.
Good, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Graham. Councillor Vroba, you had a question?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had 2 things to say. The first thing, when you're talking about the you're going to people's homes this summer,
Yes.
so I just thought people should be aware of that when someone's knocking at the door saying we
Yep.
want to actually come in and inspect, you guys are legit. And the other
Right.
thing is, some people, especially because Estevan has been hit hard basically in the downfall of the economy, these assessments, when they got them, a lot of homeowners felt that they were going to go down in value. They feel if they were trying to sell their homes right now, they wouldn't get what they would have got when the boom was here, and yet their assessment went up. So I know it was based on the 2015, but could you
Right.
just touch a little bit more on that for them?
Well, you hit it dead on
Okay.
right there, that our base date being January 1st, 2015, that's in legislation. And so that is the date that we used. And that was the date province-wide. So the main thing, a main key with assessment is equity. So anytime you value the whole province on the same day, it could be argued you have equity. But the way our assessment cycle works, there's just a lag because we deliver values to the provincial government ahead of time, a year ahead of time, so they have time to determine the taxation impacts on a large scale. And then it takes us at least a year to compile all the sales and create the assessment. So right there, it's like a couple of years from.
So if
that
someone
base
felt
date.
that their house had gone down quite a bit in value, it would be of no value to them to actually go ahead and try and be reassessed because it's actually based on 2015, not today.
It's based on 2015. And you touched on a reinspection as well. And that is separate from what's happening right now and the assessments that people are getting. And in fact, that would create another assessment role for next year. But it does go hand in hand, and we will be, there will be quite a bit of consultation, and we'll work with administration and council really to get the most appropriate level of communication. And it's not like the old days where we had to go in and count bathrooms and things like that. It's we you know, for personal safety for your residents and for our appraisers, frankly, we don't get into as many houses as perhaps we did. There's some, we'll do mail outs, and we'll there is some, of course, like the biggest, most expensive houses that have a huge assessment impact. We'll perhaps want to make extra effort to get into those. But in general, people know when we're here fairly quickly, and we'll work with council to reinforce that even more.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Your Worship, to Graham. I'm not sure how many classifications there are in cold storage buildings, but I have one, and since I put it up in 1986, I continue to have some kind of problem with the taxation on this particular building. I find out now that the taxes last year were $2,192.58. This year, they're going to be $4,658.98. I can assure you that if I raise my rent to offset these taxes, these people will move out. Mm-hmm. I would like to know what has changed in 4 years to take that building, that nothing's changed in the building.
Right.
There is no services, there's no water, there's no sewer, there's no sidewalks, there's no curbs. It's a gravel lot. Mm-hmm. For that to go more than double. And if that's what we're setting for the rest of the city, and I noticed by just comparing our own, as Councillor Hofford talks about, there seems to be such an array of difference that it almost looks like there was a game of darts thrown, and whoever landed on whatever got charged for what happened. I'm not real pleased with this.
Right.
We're talking about a 40 by 80 building. Sitting on a piece of land to store equipment. I can't imagine what's going to happen before the summer's out from other people that got many of these buildings. Mm-hmm. And so I agree, you're going to get some phone calls. But having said that, I've already done the appeals thing.
Okay.
And it was pretty much a waste of time. Mm-hmm. I hope that there's been some consideration on how that approach works, because when you're talking a couple $100, that's not a big deal. You walk out and say, well, so be it. I guess the rest of them got the same message that I got. But this time when it doubles, there's got to be something totally gone wrong here. on a building of that size, it is really, what is it? I mean, so if you could answer some of what I've just asked, I'd be interested in knowing what you have to say.
I know there is a follow-up session shortly, I think, with council.
That's correct. After the open session, Graham.
Right.
Yeah.
We do have Carrie Lalonde here who she's our specialist in this type of building, and she could talk about it a little more specifically there. But the one thing that this revaluation did reflect with that base date of January 1st, 2015, it reflects the valuation change from 2011, 12, 13, and 14. And what that corresponded to in the commercial market corresponded to rental rates increasing substantially, and then sales of such property increasing in a manner that we feel evidence indicated that it did support the values that we have in place. The appeal process, it remains the same in that you challenge your property, and if you have an issue with the property valuation, and that's what we stick with, is valuation, because the tax-wise, every municipality is different. The same value property could have significantly different taxes on one municipality to the next. So we stick with the valuation end and make sure we have the information correct, which I hope we did before with your property. And then it's a matter of supporting the valuation evidence that we do have. And that period of time, what it does reflect is a big valuation change in the marketplace.
Maybe for that particular length of time that it was happening, but I'm thinking there should have been some adjustments for what's happened at this point in our
Yeah.
career. So I just can't fathom how it can double in that short of time, and how the assessment. I mean, you've done a good job explaining how you put it together, but I just I'll be very interested to see what happens here, because I'm sure we are going to get a lot of inquiries about.
Well, the supportive value process, that's our job, and we will definitely provide support to administration when people such as yourself, the situation you described. Hopefully you will call someone at our office, and we will work through it with you. If you, in the end, it does come to us having to support that value, and we think we have the evidence that will support that value. And on occasion where we discover that we don't, we will change that value,
Okay.
or where there's an error made.
Going by the chart from excellent to poor, it almost suggests to the public that if you don't look after your place, you will pay less taxes. I mean, it's not a good message, because that's the rate it shows. So because we that look after our place and keep it nice are almost penalized for doing so. I mean,
Right.
that's my feeling about it. If you look after it, you're going to pay more because you look after it. So, but I thank you for your answer, and I for sure will be making an appeal to see where we settled out at. So thanks. Thanks, your work.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Hofford, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. We have the regional airport here that's in another taxing jurisdiction, but at the meeting the other night, there was quite a bit of concern with the taxing out there, and the question, my understanding from that meeting was all of the hangars that the recreational pilots have are taxed as commercial, and I guess I wanted to make sure that that their information is accurate, and if so, how do you arrive at that commercial assessment on something that is clearly not commercial?
Well, we work with administration, with municipalities to arrive at an initial tax class on a property. And perhaps as you remember from the municipal days, that in the end, the tax class responsibility does fall to local administration. We work with them to place an initial tax class on properties. As far as valuing the type of a building as commercial as well, a hangar is a commercial type structure. The tax class as commercial, it's almost by default because it's not residential. It's not, you know, so it doesn't really fit into residential use. It becomes commercial.
And so all hangars in the province, regardless of airport location,
Yeah.
regardless of small town, big city, they're all assessed commercial.
Yeah, they would be. They're not residential.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hubbard. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yanish. Yeah.
I have one quick question. How come you don't do a physical assessment first before you do all the numbers?
Well,
Then you wouldn't have to go back to everybody and say, well, we find this and
Right.
this. It seems like it's lots of extra work and headache for the situation.
right. That would be ideal if that were the case. We are legislated, we have to update the values once every 4 years. That's by legislation. We have no choice in that. That takes a lot of manpower, person power, excuse me. And I guess part of why we're going to handheld technology is we have a goal to dramatically increase the number of properties we can inspect every year. So that means we would get out more often and do that physical reinspection. It has been a long time since we've been to.
When was the last one?
1992.
So
what I
nothing's
gathered.
really up to date in the books at all?
Well, we have done, more recently, we looked at the commercial properties
Yeah.
to update them, but residential, no.
It's pretty sad.
Well, the one thing, yeah, I will agree with that, and that's why Estevan is the next one on our list to do. Cities with a more stringent, regulation process than perhaps some of the smaller towns. Not as many things have gotten missed here and there over the years, but I'll agree, yeah, it's long overdue.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Yanish. Any other questions from members of council? Okay. Anyone in the audience would like to say anything? If not, we'll move into the meeting. And you're more than welcome, if you wanted to take a break, go get a breath of fresh air, or if you wanted to listen to some hot air, you're more than welcome to stay. But I'll leave that totally up to you guys, okay? Thank you. So could I have a motion then, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Hoffert, second. Councillor Moore, any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the council meeting held on April 10th, 2017? Councillor Vroba, Councillor Yanish, any questions on that? If not, did you have a question, City Manager? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next. Sure, Trina, would you mind staying for closed? Would you be okay with that? We'll try to get it done as quick as we can. Appreciate it. Thank you. Under original communications, delegations, and petitions, first off, we have the Southeast Regional Library budget cuts, and now we understand the provincial government has had a change of heart and has fully reinstated the library cuts, so we're just waiting a few days for them to reinstate the grants in lieu of, and then we'll all be happy. Seriously, we know that won't happen. Yeah, right. Anyway. Moving forward, we've got FCM invoice for Legal Defense Fund. Now, this was tabled from our last meeting. We've got a request for payment for $266.95, and this is to help with the Legal Defense Fund. We did ask for more information FCM has established a long-term strategy to recapitalize the Legal Defense Fund annually, beginning with an immediate call for contributions. All of us have a role to play in advancing the legal interests of Canada's municipalities. Thank you in advance for your payment. Now, we've all had the opportunity to have a look at this. What's the wish of council on this matter? Councillor Hoffer?
Acceptance and approval, Your Worship.
Okay, have we got a seconder? Then after the seconder, then we'll ask questions. Seconder, Councillor Moore, thank you. Okay, I'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wondered where the funds come from the beginning. Did we pay into this before, along the way?
I think actually we have, but it was intermittent. And now this seemed to have kind of come out of the blue. But there have been cases that FCM have taken to the Supreme Court. They've got a couple examples. The one was the right-of-way management. The deregulation of the telecommunications sector in 1993 completely changed the ROW environment overnight. A number of new commercially aggressive providers sought quick access to deploy their networks. Through its technical committee on ROWs, some 40 legal and technical experts from across the country, FCM coordinated the municipal sector's response for 25 years, developed best practices, information sharing, and active participation in a number of legal cases. FCM was the appellant to the Federal Court of Appeal in the landmark Ledcor case that established a principle that municipalities have the right to recover all incremental costs related to telecommunications activity on their land. That was a landmark case. So they've taken quite a few. Another one is the constitutional jurisdiction of municipalities in 2001, which was the Spray Tech versus Hudson case, in which FCM intervened on behalf of the municipal sector, ushered in a new approach as to how courts should interpret the legislative authority of municipal councils. In that case, the Supreme Court indicated that courts should show deference to the choices made by local elected officials. In this case, the town of Hudson, Quebec. The court also indicated that municipal legislative authority should be interpreted broadly and that local rules could coexist with federal regulations. So they had a few cases there that went to the Supreme Court.
Well, the reason for the question, I just wondered why this particular fund wouldn't be built into the membership. And
that's a good argument.
And the other thing I'd like to know is what do they raise by this fee across the board? Like, they could have been a little more information there saying this will.
Yeah, I believe, city manager, this is a per capita, right? Yeah, it's per capita, so it's so much per capita.
Yeah.
Their membership, we could Google that. I'm not sure what their membership is right now, but it's very high.
Okay. It's not a lot of money, but I'm just thinking, when will they come back to us for another shot? Is it
Well,
something?
I think, and we'll bring this up when we meet at FCM where this is going, but I would think what they want to do is incrementally have a small increase every year, rather than not do anything and then out of the blue come back with a huge increase, which would be unpalatable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we have the Southeast College MOU agreement. This was done by the previous council a few years ago. We signed a memorandum of understanding that was to address the affordable housing issues in the city. And what they were looking at was an agreement between the federal government, the provincial government, and the municipality to put up a housing close to the Southeast College where students could stay. And then if they had room, where people could stay that were working within the city at different companies. They went to some of the larger employees or employers, and they looked for them to rent like pieces of this building, because the rental was to the point, that was when we had below 0.5 vacancy. So what they're asking right now is an extension for a couple of years. I would seriously doubt that we would use it, but at the same time, I guess their request is that if we do have another oil boom and it gets to this point again, it may be helpful for all of us if we can reach agreement between the feds and the province, because it all kind of hinged on them helping out as well. Councillor Hoffer?
Thank you, Your Worship. If memory serves, this was early on in the last term when there was no vacancy, as you suggest.
That's right.
And there really was no other option. Since then, our numbers have really rebounded. There's been all kinds of condos and apartments and different things be built or made available. What do we know about the numbers and the vacancy rates and the, you know, who do
Well,
we go to for this information to decide if they got an influx of students in the next year, if they had 100 students come to town, is there adequate space in town for them at this point without this building? Or that would really be helpful in deciding whether we should tie up this land for another 4 years?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess the argument too, the land right now is not being, you know, we don't have a great demand for this, but our vacancy rate in the spring was as high as 20 to 25%. You talk to the real estate people now, it is starting to turn around. The vacancy rate is going down. So you're right, Councillor Hoffer, do we need this today or tomorrow? No. They're just requesting we sit on this. We do have the out clause in here, I believe of 30 or city manager 60 days, we can opt out. So I guess if it does get to the point that maybe we have the availability to sell the land, we could give them notice and do so. That is built into this clause as well.
Or could we internally, you know, there's a few lots in that area for sale that we have for sale yet. Could we internally keep that as one of our last lots? And as you say, I don't think they're knocking the door down trying to buy these lots at the present time, so it may very well be available then, but you just wonder of A, the necessity, and B, will this project ever be brought up again?
Oh, it might not be brought up again. Councillor Hofford, I guess what the college is looking at, this is a bit of a safety net in case things do get really busy. And we would have the opt-out clause if we do choose to sell. We would have to give them the proper notice and basically let them know that we're not interested in this anymore, if that's council's wish. So that's where they're coming from on this. And as you know, we do have a relationship with the college. We're working together with them on bursaries. We're also looking at city manager working again possibly this year with heavy equipment on some of this property where we supply the land. They get the equipment from local dealerships, and then we have the availability of our local younger populace going out, taking the training through the college and getting trained up, and therefore being employable in the near area. So it's totally up to council. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess because they actually did a lot of footwork up to this point to make it happen, if it should have to happen, I would be in favor of giving them the time, especially when we have a 60-day outlet if we need it. So I think to be good neighbors, it's not a bad idea.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And yeah, there was costs involved in drawing this up.
Yeah.
And I think as the city manager alluded to, I think it's even 30 days. 30 days, okay. So it's not even 60, it's 30 days. Thank you, Councillor Travis.
I just want to, I
There we
was
go.
just
Councillor
going to
Frank.
take the tag off here and let you off the hook today.
I
And
finally got that guy learned.
I just want to confirm, so that's 30 days penalty free if we wanted to get out of it. So really, this isn't hurting us at all to keep
Exactly.
it in place, hey?
Yeah, good point. Any other questions, Councillor Yanish?
Your worship, this is only a 2-year extension too. It's not
That's
a
right.
4-year. It's only a 2-year.
Only 2 years, yeah. Okay, thank you. So we have the motion. Did you have another
I'll
question?
make that motion.
We've got the motion
we?
in place, right? We've got the motion, so I'll call for the question. All in favor? I thought we had a seconder.
I did. I guess
You did second it. You did second it. Councillor
Into
Moore did second it.
discussion.
Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
Who initiated it?
You made the first motion.
That was the last one. We didn't have one of this yet.
No, we had a first and second, I thought. I was positive we did. Did we want to replay because you had said to have, no, you had said, Councillor Moore, to have discussion, I'll second it. Because you
Yeah,
can't have discussion unless you have the motion.
That's, you
So
said
you-
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I said I
So
would
we don't
second
have
it.
to replay the tape, thank you. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you.
Look both ways.
Yes, look both ways. Thank you for that. Okay, next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have the NAV Canada leasing agreement at the Estevan Airport. So we've got the amending agreement to the license for licensed civil air navigation. We've got our chairman here. Councillor Hoffert, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, this is, it's a little bit of good news perhaps because they're talking about potentially canceling all these and removing all these folks from the airports, and this service is critical to the operation of our airport in terms of the ability to have the water bombers and the fixed wing ambulances and a lot of other emergency services, as well as the commercial operations that come in. It's the weather component of this that people know whether they can fly or not. So this is very critical. So the alternate to this is potentially not having that service at all, or else having a computerized electrical service, which does a similar serves a similar need, but either one of these is definitely required at our airport. So we'll be seeking support of a bunch of different facets of our community to support the continuation of this service at the airport. But for now, this is a good step forward in that they're interested in having this lease for another few years.
Exactly. So we are getting an increase on the lease. The manpower will stay in place, one person for now.
Yeah.
But when and if that is reduced, and through the city clerk's officers, I've already wrote the letter recommending that if and when that manpower requirement is reduced, we go to the higher level.
Yes.
Electrical backup,
Yeah.
so that our planes don't suffer as far as their landing and takeoffs. They can still do the same.
Absolutely.
It won't be negatively impacted.
So that is important. So at this point, with the issue before us, I'd be happy to recommend approval, acceptance and approval of the lease as presented. And I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, thank you for that. Seconded. Thank you. Councillor Vroba, any further discussion? And thank you, City Clerk. I believe you were involved in upping the rate that we got, so thank you for that. All in favor? Carried. We've got many duties for our City Clerk. Okay, next we have under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have Southeast Transportation Planning Committee meeting of March 28th. Could we have a motion, please, to accept that? Thank you. Councillor Frank, seconded. Councillor Yanish. Any questions? Councillor Moore, did you want to add anything?
Just to let you know that we have accepted the 25% discount or loss in our revenue, and there's been a lot of changes in the ministry through people. We had 3 planners in the area. Now we're down to 1. We've had people retire, so we have some new people in their chairs, beginners, more or less. So, but the operation is alive and well, and we are getting quite a bit of work done in our area for this year, which we're kind of surprised. And so, to end all, I guess we're just going to cut back on some of our meetings to make the 25% less work for us. So.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Moore, and thank you. I believe you're chairman on that board. Thank you for all of your efforts. I know at one point everyone was ready to toss in the towel, so thank you for keeping that going. And now we've got young people involved, new blood. Hopefully we can keep moving forward.
New blood, good people, and we have a meeting tomorrow morning. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else? Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have the Estevan Bruins Community Events Permit Celebrity Dinner coming up on May 3rd. That's always a fantastic time. I know Councillor Hoffert, you're involved in helping out, as is our city manager, has given of his time as well to help sell tables. I think we've got, a bit over half sold, so we would appreciate if people would step up to the plate. Great event, super entertainment, and help out. So could we have a motion for this permit? Thank you, Councillor Hoffert. Have we got a seconder? I'll go with Councillor Travis. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Go ahead. We got to have a few laughs, Councillor. Okay, next under Original Communications, Delegations and Petitions, we have Josh LeBlanc, Savor the Southeast Community Events, and we understand this year, City Manager, where the monies will be going. Did you want to touch base on that?
Yeah, so the Savor the Southeast Committee has chosen the Savor Committee has chosen the Kinsman Rink project as would be the benefactor to any monies raised at this event, so.
Thank you. So we appreciate the Kinsmen stepping up to the plate and all of the volunteers that always do in our community. We're pretty sure that it'll be another great success. So could we have a motion, please, to accept this events permit? Thank you. Councillor Vroba. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Moore. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under Original Communications, Delegations and Petitions, we have the Estevan Rotary Club Community Events for Lobster Fest, another fantastic fundraiser within our community. And of course, the Lobster Fest put all of their money back into the community. Fantastic organization. City Manager, you're the head honcho this year. Did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, this is our annual event. You know, it's one of our biggest fundraisers, and like the mayor said, this does go back into the community in some, so we appreciate that we get to use a venue such as Affinity Place to host this event. I know council's been very supportive of that, so.
Okay, thank you. And again, thank you so much for all the volunteers that come forward. We absolutely couldn't do it without their help. So do we have a motion, please, to accept that permit? Councillor Hoffert? Councillor Frank, thank you. Seconded. All in favor? Carried. I don't want to get into the habit of that, Travis. Okay. Under written reports of committees, we have the Smile Services meeting. And thank you. We haven't seen those minutes for a while, so thank you, Councillor Yanish, for bringing those forward. Appreciate it. Any questions on that? If not, could we have a motion to accept those as presented? Thank you. Councillor Yanish, seconder. Councillor Moore, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Executive reports. First off, we have the City Manager budget consideration and taxation effects. City Manager, would you mind going forward with that?
Thank you, Your Worship. So as was discussed in the previous two council meetings, council needs to make a recommendation on exactly how we want to move forward in regards to the decrease in provincial funding. So there has been some informal discussion, but here's the formal recommendation. Our initial proposed tax increase was 3%. That provide the city with additional $440,000. An 8% tax increase would provide $1.1 million. So I believe the initial discussion from council was to find efficiencies internally. I know we're looking at some vacancies, not filling those, and some other items. So there is a recommendation that an 8% tax increase of $1.1 million will provide fill the gap left by the funding from the province and still let us proceed with most of the things that the city needs moving forward.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Yes, we've already done some $240,000 in cuts. We're looking at more through attrition. We've already did away with the managerial position at the Leisure Centre. So City Manager and all of Council are continually looking at, as well as all of our managers, at efficiencies, and I'd like to thank them for that. And with all of this, unfortunately, with the grants in lieu and the fact that we have $250,000 less this year from our revenue sharing from the government, this will make up that shortfall. So what's the wish of Council on this? Councillor Vroba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that, like, when we looked at this, when we got hit with the grants in lieu being taken away, that was really hard, especially for myself being new and some of the other new council members. We thought we were at 3%. We thought we had this hammered out, and then we had to go back. And we had a lot of discussion on this, and I think the recommendation, without moving back, instead of moving the city forward, that was the only way we were going to go without having a higher tax increase this year. And unfortunately, it's the year of the reassessment, so it's not going to be a great tax year for some, and I just think it's just something we have to do to continue moving forward without letting this grant in lieu completely wreck our budget.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Vroba. Councillor Hoffert, did you have some?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention, Your Worship, and we have talked about this in the past, and you've done a good job explaining it, but this is not a one-time, let's figure it out for this year and then we'll be okay next year. This is basically setting the new baseline for taxes, because this is going to be an ongoing thing. In fact, it's going to be even more, the implications are going to be greater next year. So as Councillor Veroba said, you know, we thought we had the budget hammered out. We thought we had our increases in place with a modest increase because we've set up the last several years getting us to the point where we needed to be in terms of having the proper revenue to afford everything we're doing and what's needed in the city. This is, the tax notices, it's important to, very important to know that they're far beyond, in many instances, or in great extent, the abilities of council to control. We have the SAMA reassessment that we heard of on this that is having really huge effects on a lot of tax positions in the city, as Councillor Moore explained in his example. We have a school division tax increase that's coming that is in the neighborhood of 10%. We have the provincial revenue sharing cuts, the grants in lieu cuts. We did give direction to our management team to find some efficiencies within, and they've done a great job of doing that initially. It's not something you can do overnight. It's something you got to work towards over a year, and that's probably one of the largest misgivings of the whole tax or revenue shift from the province down to the local municipalities is the overnight nature of it, where if we had a year to adjust to this, you know, we could have worked towards it and mitigated the damage. Having no municipal reserves, this is really what we need to do to get to where we can operate this city without going backwards and without increasing debt substantially over the years. So I just wanted to mention there is much of this beyond our control, and what is within our control, we're heavy duty working at it, and credit to the management team, some of which are here tonight for doing the work they've been doing.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Councillor Hoffert. Any other comments from members of council? I know, most of the comments have been supported by the rest of council, and I know Councillor Nibbs, who couldn't make it today, agreed as well that he was in favor of council moving forward in this direction. So do we have a motion this evening for this? Councillor Yanish, have we got a seconder? Councillor Hoffert, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. Moving forward, under executive reports, we've got the Public Works Tender Tandem Gravel Truck Report. I don't know if we have our manager here, Norm Mack. Thank you, Norm, for staying for this. We've got, the name of the company is Warner Industries. They're the lowest tender with a Freightliner, and this is needed to replace our aging fleet. I don't know, Norm, if you had any other further comments on this. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll ask what council would like to do on this issue, please, on the tandem gravel truck. Councillor Veroba.
I just was wondering, are any of these companies local companies?
Redhead is just out of town. Kenworth,
Yeah.
Kenworth is just out of town. Now, we don't have a policy if they come close,
Sales, yeah.
and sometimes they don't meet the minimum requirements. So this is,
Yeah, I knew those two. I just wondered about like the Warner Industries. It doesn't actually say the company name.
okay, Warner Industries. Norm, where are they from?
Out of Regina.
Regina.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other further questions? If not, do we have a motion on this? Councillor Frank, did you have a question?
No, I just, I had some people asking me just in seeing some of these notes, just a little bit about just our policy in purchasing locally and not necessarily specifically on the tandem, but going into the next two line items there. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, now we used to, many years ago, have if it's within 15%, but that policy has fallen by the wayside. So right now, we tend to go with lowest tender unless they don't meet the minimum specs. Okay? So, Councillor Veroba?
Yeah, that would be my only thing, because there is quite a bit of difference in the price from the lowest to the highest. And the specs were the exact same, Norm, then? Like everything was right down apples to apples?
Yes, the winner with the lowest bid met all our specifications and criteria.
And so, but these other bids, were they also like meeting the specs, but just a bit
They were
higher
meeting the
quality?
specs, but as you can see, the prices, they were
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
$20,000 higher.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, do we have a motion, Council? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Norm, are we getting any recovery dollars from our old unit?
They go to auction, our old units are going to auction June 24th.
And
And at that time, yeah, you'll,
what's it worth?
Dennis, I'm not too sure. But you'll get, there's good money in our replacement, our older vehicles going to auction. They're still usable, but we'll find out at that time.
We'll get something.
Yes, oh,
Thanks.
for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully, Councillor Moore, they get auction fever that day and it sells high, but
It's happening.
it is getting to the point that, yeah, we're having to fix and repair. So what's the wish of council on this one? And this is in our fleet renewal program as well, which is already in the budget. Okay, Councillor Moore,
I'd make that motion. We purchase,
Okay.
go along with the,
to accept the tender, okay?
you bet.
As presented, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Yanish? Any further discussion, questions? If not, all in favor? Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have the Public Works tender of the grader. We have the recommendation here. It's a lease from Brandt. It's a 5-year lease with a $1 buyout at the end of the term. And again, in the specs, we stipulated a minimum 260 horsepower. And Case offered a 220 horsepower, which did not meet our minimum specs. So this grader will be replacing an aging 1999 Champion grader that has over 12,000 hours on it. And again, this is within the budget, within our fleet renewal. And this too as well will be auctioned off. So what's the wish of council on this one? Councillor Yanish, you'll make that?
I'll make that motion.
To accept that? Okay, thank you, and go ahead.
Yeah, no, I
Councillor
just,
Hopper?
I was just going to support. I mean, management has done the homework on all of these, and they've made the
Yes.
recommendation, and I'm happy to second
Okay,
this and
Thank-
approve them all.
thank you, Councillor Hoffert. Any further discussion? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question on the, so on the lease, we pay whatever the lease is. The 2.9, is that interest on?
Mm-hmm.
So we do lease and then 2.9 interest on?
Yes, yeah. So then there's blended payments of $6,915 per month.
Is that Norm?
Yeah, Jeff has done the numbers on this, and I think you find it quite palatable, City Manager.
Okay, thank you.
These rates are, sorry, Councilor Moore, through your worship, these rates are actually lower than our borrowing rates, so whenever we do leases like this, I make sure they're comparable, and make sure that the cash flow works. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we've got the Public Works tender, the 2017 skid steer. Now, this is Bobcat out of Regina, and it's got another issue here, which is quite attractive. And that is Bobcat will replace with a new skid steer, basically, Norm, I guess every year, correct? For $3,000?
Bobcat of Regina has a program for municipalities where they'll bring us a new Bobcat yearly, every year, for additional $3,000 minus the tires. So the hours that we use our skid steer and the winter conditions that we use our skid steer, it's a really good program for us. We got the right hours on the machines, and that's why we chose this. With all this equipment too, we did do our homework on it. We had all the demos down this summer, skid steers, graders. So it was a decision not only by management, but a lot of it was with the operators, what we think is best. And so that's how we arrived at this.
Thank you. I know you put a lot of effort into it, and thank you for that, Norm. Councillor Hoffer?
Acceptance and approval of this, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Frank, thank you. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have the fire report for March of 17. We had 6 false alarms, 5 motor vehicle accidents, 2 gas leak, carbon monoxide alarms, 7 fire alarms, 0 fuel leaks, and 5 training sessions. So could we have a motion, please, to adopt the fire report for March of 17? Thank you, Councillor Vroba, seconded. Councillor Moore, questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, we have from Land Development, a request for a condo conversion of 801 4th Street, LDR 8-2017. We've received an application for a condominium conversion for an existing fourplex at the above noted address. The existing parking will be titled to owners as per the Condominium Property Act of 1993. The yard and landscaping will be used as common property for the units. The property is currently zoned commercial service C2 and is a discretionary use in this zone. The use has been approved under development permit number 25-12. 8 parking stalls are located on this site for the existing units. Existing services are in place for the units. It will be the owner's responsibility to transfer any services as needed for the new titles. The existing development is directly adjacent, single-family use to the north, east, and west. Directly across the street to the south is a Co-op grocery store. The area in general is zoned commercial and is slow developing. More intensive uses, i.e. multifamily and service-based businesses along 4th Street. The development is currently subject to a rental construction incentive that we had under the Can-Do program. It was developed and approved in 2014 for tax exemption for a period of 5 years. 2 years remain. The current owner will need to enter into an agreement for the units to remain as rental units or forfeit the tax exemption. As of October 16, as we talked about earlier, Estevan did have a rental rate of 25%, 473 units total in the city, because at one time we said we would not allow these conversions if we had 0.5% vacancy rate or less. But of course, that's not the case anymore. So at this time, conversion of these rental units to condominiums will not place undue stress on the rental market. Recommendations: since the land use has already been approved under a development permit, the proposal to convert the units into a condominium will only signify a change of the ownership structure. This proposal will have no physical impact on the site or surrounding properties. Some consideration does need to be made in the term of the Can-Do program. However, should the owner enter into an agreement to maintain the units as rental, there should be no issue. As such, it is the opinion of this development that the City Council should move a resolution approving the proposed condominium conversion. So what's the wish of council on this? Councillor Hoffer?
Just a question, Your Worship, of City Clerk or City Manager. When the Can-Do program is no longer in effect, but it was when this apartment was first built.
That's correct.
Then was the Can-Do program available to, if this would have been a condo then, would it have been available, or was it just apartments then, or what can you tell me about that?
Back then, I believe it was apartments.
Yes, thank you, Worship Council Offord. Yes, even if it was a condo, if they were renting it out and were committed to renting out for 5 years, they were being allowed the Can-Do program.
So if this development commits to continuing to rent it out for the duration of the agreement, then we would be okay with it. However, if they sold it and the person moved in and it wasn't, or that person didn't rent it out to another party, then the Can-Do agreement would cease.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Frank.
Sorry, just follow up on that. How, is there any recourse or any way we would find out, or like we're gonna sell this to somebody and they're gonna move into it and we're never gonna know. Is there anything we do or have done in the past to confirm that?
Trina, not to toss you under the bus, but would you have any comment on that?
Yeah, so typically we know what's going on for sales. So at that time, we would make it known to the lawyers that there is an agreement there for the rental construction incentive program, and then they would have to pay back on a rated amount, however long it's left.
Okay, Councillor Frank, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. So what's the wish of council on this? Do we have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Seconded. Councillor Frank. Any further questions? All in favor? Thank you. I see you smiling, Councillor Frank. That's a good sign. Okay. Next, under introduction of bylaws, we have none this evening. And thank you, Trina, for that help on that question. Next, under public hearings and reports, we have none this evening. 4G. Oh, I'm sorry, utilities clerk, thank you. Under executive reports, tenant landlord utility account policy. City manager, would you like to maybe discuss this? You and our help downstairs, our employees downstairs have worked out this policy?
Thank you, Worship. So where this came from is a few years ago, the Cities Act changed so that any unpaid utility bills could be transferred to taxes. Now, under our Freedom of Information Act, we were having issues where we couldn't release tenant information to the landlord owners. So it was becoming really problematic at tax transfer time that these people didn't know they were going to have a tax transfer. So this has become our issue. So we looked around at what other cities did. We were initially discussing putting all utility accounts in the property owners' names. We looked at other cities and that doesn't work out uniformly across all residents and commercial. So some of the policies that we've kind of reviewed indicate that what you do is you sign a letter of understanding that's in this policy that the landlord has to sign in order to have tenant accounts set up on that property, and also an information release form by the tenant so that owner copies can be sent out as well. So the responsibility really jumps to them that they have to be able to know who's in their property, whether the amount's paid, and that at any point they can come into City Hall and request that. So this should alleviate any issues moving forward. Yeah, the policy and the forms are attached in your packet.
Thank you, City Manager. So through open communication between the tenant and the owner, we can make this work. Before, what would happen in some cases, the tenant would vacate, and then of course the owner, which knew nothing about the fact that his tenant wasn't paying his water bill, would be stuck with the water bill. So now through more open communication and signing this off, then we'll have communication between the two where that will not happen. So I think it's a win-win. So if we could have a motion to accept that policy moving forward. Thank you, Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Yanish. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we're back to giving notice. I have a proclamation for Naturopathic Medicine Week, May 8th to the 14th of 2017. Could I have a motion, please, for this proclamation? Councillor Groba, thank you. Second it. By Councillor Moore, thank you. All in favor? And Councillor Frank, you're in favor of that, right? Okay, thank you. I'll read it out. I'm watching, guys, I'm watching. Proclamation, Naturopathic Medicine Week, May 8th to 14th, 2017. Whereas May 8th to 14th, 2017 is marked as Naturopathic Medicine Week across Saskatchewan and Canada. And naturopathic medicine is a form of primary care medicine that blends centuries-old, natural, non-toxic therapies with current advances in the study of health and human systems, covering all aspects of family health, from prenatal to geriatric care. And whereas naturopathic medicine concentrates on whole patient wellness, the medicine is tailored to the patient and emphasizes prevention and self-care factors in physical, social, environmental, emotional, and spiritual factors. And whereas more residents of Saskatchewan are seeking science-based, valid, complementary health care, and whereas the mission of the Saskatchewan Association of Naturopathic Practitioners is to provide people with the health benefits of regulated, highly qualified, leading-edge naturopathic medicine in Saskatchewan. Now, therefore, I, Roy Ludwig, Mayor of the City of Estevan, do hereby proclaim the week, May 8th to 14th, 2017, as Naturopathic Medicine Week in the City of Estevan, and I urge all citizens of our community to cooperate with and participate in activities sponsored by this group. So thank you for supporting that, Council. And it's nice to see that we're still in Canada moving towards science-based recommendations rather than moving away from science like our neighbor to the south. But anyway, next proclamation that I'll be reading is Natural Public Works Week. So do I have a motion, please? Proclamation for National Public Works Week, May 21st to May 27th, 2017. Councillor Hoffert, seconded by Councillor Yanish. All in favor? Carried. Public Works connects us. Whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to the health, safety, and well-being of the people of this nation, and whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, employees, administrators, representing federal, provincial, territory, local units of government who are responsible for and must design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, water supply, wastewater systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to serve our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders of this country to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest in the public works needs and programs of their respective communities, therefore I, Mayor Roy Ludwig, do hereby designate the week, May 21st to 27th, 2017, as National Public Works Week. And I urge all of our people to join with representatives of governmental agencies in activities and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works engineers, administrators, and to recognize the substantial contributions they have made to our national health and welfare. So we thank you so much for that. And Norm, please thank you, yourself, and all of our employees that work under you for the fantastic job that they do, and Janice and all of her people as well. So, done with that. Next we have, under giving notice, Operation Clean Sweep. I guess I don't really need a motion for this, City Clerk. It's just more notice. I'd like to remind everyone that Clean Sweep Week is May 15th through May 22nd. May 15th, the City of Estevan crews will be clean sweeping the City of Estevan north, east, south, and west entrances of the city and outlying areas. May 16th, we'll be clean sweeping all city properties, including green spaces such as boulevards, medians, parks, and natural areas. May 17th, to the north, City of Estevan crews will be helping you clean sweep by picking up your contained organic waste material, twigs, leaves, and yard refuse. Please have it tied up or bagged. All items must be in your driveway before 8 a.m. on May 17th. So please, unless you're a very early riser like a rooster, do it the night before. Get that mopped up, and then you don't have to be angry when you wake up at 10 o'clock and the crews are already gone by. May 18th, South City of Estevan crews will be helping you clean sweep by picking up your contained organic waste again, your twigs, leaves, yard refuse. Please have it bundled or bagged. Again, must be in your driveway before 8 a.m. on the 18th. And then on May 19th and 22nd, we have free landfill weekend. Now this applies to the City of Estevan residents only. Freon appliances are not included. No hazardous waste material is included. So please, anything that's dangerously environmental, have it disposed in the proper fashion. So moving forward, motions from committee this evening, we have none. Consideration of bylaws, we have none. Inquiries. City Manager?
Thank you, Worship. Just to clarify, when we were talking about the condominium, we were throwing the term around can-do and rental construction. Those are two different programs. The can-do related to new construction, and we had got rid of that a few years ago. So the rental construction incentive is the only thing that applies to that property.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager, for correcting that. So now back to inquiries. Councillor Hoffer.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I just wanted to mention, that was already mentioned tonight, the Bruin Sportsman Dinner on May 3rd. It's going to be a great night. Brett Wilson from Dragon's Den fame, and also the owner of the Nashville Predators, is the keynote speaker that night. So this is a great opportunity. He's a much sought after speaker that folks want to come to their community all over the country, and we were fortunate enough to attract him to Estevan. So not only for the sports fan, but for any business, entrepreneurial, young folks out there, this is a great opportunity to come and hear one of Canada's most dynamic speakers in Brett Wilson. And so really would encourage, and it's also crucially important to the Bruins' fiscal security and financial stability moving forward. So would just encourage all businesses or individual ticket holders or buyers to come out and support this event on May 3rd. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Hofford, for that. It'll be a fantastic event. Go ahead, Councillor Broba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also just wanted to bring up that Regan's Disposal is sponsoring Savor the Southeast. I know it was touched on a little bit before. It's for the Kinsman Outdoor Rink is who the funds are going to. Hender's Drugs in Estevan here. You can get your tickets for Saturday, May 13th. And I unfortunately will not be there because I'm just getting home from my vacation, but I plan, hopefully you guys all go there, have a great time, because I plan to go next year for sure.
Thank you very much, Councillor Broba, and we understand that will be a minimum trash event. We'll even have composting bins there, which I understand Reagan's would like to move into the future, which good for them. Councillor Yanish.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a little heads up for those of you that don't know, the Source Valley Museum out on the west side of the city will be having their official grand reopening again. They've did an addition to the museum and now have washrooms, public washrooms. It'll be a 12-month facility now, not just in the summer. And they're going to be having a cowpoke chili cook-off on the 27th. So those of you that like cooking chili and would like to compete, definitely come out and see what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the date on that again?
27th of May.
27th of May.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Yanish. Yeah, we used to be involved with chili cook-offs, but we killed too many people, so we kind of quit that. Councillor Frank?
If that doesn't give you enough to do in the month of May. On May 24th, the United Way Estevan will be holding their Day of Caring, which is an event we've held for the last 6, 7 years, 10 years, 5 years, I don't know, a long time. I've been around too long. Which is an event where we get community volunteers to come out and do lots of little projects, everything from cleaning windows to cleaning out gutters to doing much larger projects at Creighton Lodge and at the hospital and all sorts of places. So if you're interested in volunteering, to contact our office at 634-7375, or if you have a project that needs done, call them as well.
Thank you so much, Councillor Frank, and a great day, and you help out so many people, you and the whole committee. It's fantastic. And the date again?
May 24th is the date for that. The registration, I'm going to look at Roberta's. May 15th, thank you.
Oh, May 15th is registration?
Project dates have to be
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
but the actual
deadline for
day
the-
is 24th.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing tonight. I think the plate's full.
Okay, well, thank you very much, because, yeah, we'll be going back in with our SAMA people because, of course, we have to get a clear understanding. And we will be having an open house down the road for our citizenry, so they can not only ask our people all of the questions, but they can come and ask SAMA themselves, so that'll be helpful. So do we have a motion, please, to move into committee? Councillor Hoffert, seconded by Councillor Broba. All in favour? Thank you so much, and good night. Stand closed.